Welcome to Spirits in the Theater. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. Maybe after, make sure you like it. Today we're going to talk about my 5 tips on how to get the most out of your movie theater experience. I'm assuming you're either going with a group of people or you're honey or whatever. You're going to the theater, experiencing the movie in that context. That's where this is coming from, all right? Tip number 1. You guys, this might be a little bit over the top for you. You might think, okay, that's a little much. But legitimately, if you're going to go spend 2 hours and $10-15, to go like experience this, you should put some little extra effort in to make sure that you're able to actually experience this to the fullest, that you can get the maximum impact of the experience. So, number 1, go into the theater, like before you show up, go into that experience having your soul cleared. Meaning anxiety from the day, conflict you're trying to resolve, things that are left undone, like put that stuff at rest. Do whatever you need to do to actually resolve those things to whatever degree you can up to that point, and then release it from your awareness, from it nagging at you or pulling on you. So when you go into this experience, you can fully give yourself to letting the story take you where it's going to go. Okay, which leads us right into point number 2, or tip number 2. In every story, every movie we watch, there's always a conflict that's introduced. Typically, a villain is proposed as well, right? You want to allow the conflict to pull on you. You want to allow yourself to get bothered by the problem, okay? Obviously, there's a hero and there's all kinds of elements in this you want to say yes to, but what's important is you need to get on board with the fact that whatever the conflict is that's proposed, that it's a problem. So you want to say yes to that and go on the journey with the hero. If you don't agree that that's a problem that needs to be overcome, then their victory isn't going to mean anything to you. So it's actually important that you say yes to the invitation when the conflict arises, that it is in fact a problem. And for the next however long the movie's going to go, this is a problem you're adopting in your own life. That sounds crazy, but legitimately it is, as contradictory as that might sound, a necessary element for you to get the most out of the experience. And you guys remember to subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join us for this. Tip number 3, you want to allow hope. And it feels like, oh, that's philosophical and altruistic, and do you really need to talk about that? And we do. If you actually want this movie theater experience to be something that benefits your life and propels you into more life, you've got to allow that moment of hope or those moments to hit you, to impact you. And I think it's actually a really natural thing for us to do. But if we don't buy into the conflict, or if we're cynical or skeptical or jaded about life in general, then hope in this story can only go so far in our experience before we actually can't connect to it anymore and it doesn't do anything. You want to allow the things that are proposed in this story, whether they're fantastic or supernatural or beyond your scope of realistic, you want to let that spirit influence you. You want to let the nature of the Lord, who is hopeful and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about the future, you want to let that affect your own soul, your own perception, your own attitude about your relationships, about the problems you have in your life, about the things you're trying to accomplish. You want hope to get to be part of that experience. And every movie is releasing hope at some point, and you want to let that moment or those moments come into your life. Allow that to flood your being and to influence the other things you're aware of, okay? Tip number 4 is you want to, this is kind of intense, but reflect. At the end of the movie, you might even say debrief. Typically at the end of the movie, if I go with some friends, we're going to chat in the lobby or right outside the theater, and we're just going to talk about our experience. What did we love? What did we hate? What was amazing? What happened? How did you feel about that, right? We all just kind of share our thoughts and ideas about the thing and our reactions. And keep in mind, there's a way to do this. There's an art form. You don't want to just critique the movie. We're not just looking for all the things that they did wrong or all the things that, the way they shot it. That's okay, and that can come up, but that can't be the point. What you want the conversation to be full of is, what did it do to you? How did you feel? How did the story, how did the characters, how did the elements relate to your life or your perspective and what you experience in your own life, or what you guys have in common? You want to talk about that. I've had some quotes from the business world and some mentors of mine, and this is a common one that I've heard that I find to be pretty interesting. Small-minded people talk about other people. Average-minded people talk about events. Big-minded people talk about ideas. So when you're reflecting on the movie in a group and you guys are talking about this, you want to reflect on the ideas. Whether it's a relational dynamic that was explored or some philosophical thing about the world or possibility or whatever. You want to allow yourself to get to that rung of discussion, ideas, possibility. Can this challenge what you know? Is there expansion available here? We want to go there. So I'm not saying don't talk about how something was shot or how poorly this actor portrayed something or whatever. Feel free, throw that in there, get it out of the way, move on though. get to something a little more profound, a little more substantial, something that actually can release more for all of you, okay? And then my last tip in getting the most out of your experience at the movie theater is appreciation. So if you really care about this, I would recommend, I know this might not be normal for most people, but this was like staple for me, going on a walk or getting alone. Some of you might be journaling or whatever, but doing something in solitude where you can actually reflect, and typically I would encourage you to do this with God. Talk to the Lord about your experience in the theater. What did you see? What did you feel? What did you experience there? Like, what stuck out to you? What did you appreciate? Like, talk to him about that stuff. So there's the debrief, chatting with the friends. That's all awesome. There's a whole other layer here, though, that is available. If you talk to the Lord about what you appreciated, what uniquely and specifically you saw, what stuck out to you, what you appreciated, what you were empowered by or impacted by, there's something that compounds with the Lord, that stuff gets to move and shift, and you get invited into something more than you went into that experience with, and you actually get to build with that stuff. Everything that gets established in us is based on faith, based on belief, right? That's what gets established in our souls and the structures we work with. Every movie provides elements you could actually build stuff with if you wanted to. So you could actually take this to a place with the Lord where you could actually construct some things that are powerful or reinforce things that are already powerful. If the Lord is leading you into an idea, a possibility in your life, and the movie affirms that, grab that thing and shove it into the heart of the Lord in your conversation. Be like, this happened, this is what I thought, this is what I saw, and just process it with him. It's amazing what happens in that place, you guys. And you get past your mind and something else starts to happen, and it's beautiful. I understand this takes intentionality, this takes preparedness, it takes effort, but if you're willing to put that stuff in, I promise you the experience that comes out of it, especially after practice, is profound. And you're no longer just watching a movie. You are renewing your mind. And remember, guys, when you're watching a movie, you are never alone. Subscribe to this channel, like this video. Hey, throw a comment below. Any thoughts on that? Do you have any tips on what you think would be best as far as how you get the most out of your movie theater experience? We want to know.